Okay, so the bandwidth of the first video ended, and I have to do a second video, which is actually a good thing. So that way, those of you really interested in this, I'm going to just continue on the information here. Now, when you print this and you look at page 1, guys, this is the pattern that you see. Now, this is very similar, and you can see that here you have the seasons. Season 1, spring, 2, summer, 3, fall, 4, winter. Okay, and then the corresponding months. So this is very similar to the pattern I showed you before, but you can see it's 4, 12, and 36. So in the first month you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it goes around and ends at 36. So in this pattern you can see the Hebrew month and a corresponding sign. Okay. Now when you print the other pages, you can also see listed the decans. So for example, when we're looking here, and we have month 1, sign Aries, and then you have 1, 2, 3. There are 3 decans. And over here, we can find those. So we have Aries, and then we have 3 decans, okay? And I have a number here which gives you them 1, 2, 3, and that's the information that's on here, 1, 2, 3, okay? Now also, I just want to point out a couple things on here that you may not be familiar with. And that is when we talk about the horse riders, white, red, black, and pale, there is a star that corresponds to them for each cycle. And that is for the spring season, in the spring equinox, it's Aldebaran, okay? Regulus, Antares, and Fomalhaut, okay? So those are called the 4 generals, or the 4 spirits of the heavens, okay? And these are the 4 royal stars that correspond to them. All right, now also within this pattern, you can see that Aries relates to the lamb, Taurus is the ox. So that brings us to the signs relating to the living creatures. Taurus, ox, okay? Leo, which is over here, is the lion. We have Aquila, the eagle. I believe that's in this decan. Actually, I think that's over here. Yes, here it is, eagle. That's within Capricorn. That's Aquila. And then the last one we have is the sign of man, and that is Aquarius. Okay? So that's just a brief rundown. Now, again, that doesn't relate to astrology and you and your birthday or any of that stuff. But it does relate to the measurements of time and is important. Because this is why you have 36 decans plus 12 is 48. Now each decan relates to a week. So you have 40 weeks. Then you have 3 feasts. That's 52 weeks. Okay, so you multiply, 51 weeks. So multiply 51 times 7. That's 357. Okay, so you got 3 Jewish weeks, feasts, and then you have 3 day feasts. So you take 357 days plus 3 is 360. That's why pre-flood, it's a 360-day calendar. Then you add the 4 days of the seasons, and that brings you to 364. That's why that order is important, guys, okay? So that's what is on here. Now, this one you can also print as a clock, and if you do and you print it as a clock and you put an hour hand, that would be the first hour of the day is 7 a.m., and then the first night, it would be 7 p.m., okay, and then it goes around. So when you read the Bible, it says, when the day of Pentecost was fully come, and they said, oh, we are not drunk as you suppose because it is the 3rd hour. That's right here, number 3, okay? So when you have the hours of the day, you have 1, 2, 3, and that is actually 9 a.m., okay? So I encourage you to print this as a clock. That way you can see it as a clock and you can measure the time, which is in red. Okay? You have the hour a day, hour 1, 2, 3, and it's also a calendar. So this one pattern is a clock and a calendar. Okay? All right, now let's go over here. I want to show you a couple other things. There's so much information in this calendar, it's impossible to fit it on one page. That's why it's 5 pages. So here what we have is we have the season. Okay, so this whole, again, the 3 months is a season. Starts with the month of Abib or Nisan. And now what we have is a different priest course, guys. So these are actually the singers and musicians. This is 1 Chronicles 25. And again, you can see that there's a course of priests by 24. So here you can see them listed. Now the reason this is important is that a year starts with a priest course, and he would actually serve 3 times in a year. So the first week of the first month, the first week of the 7th month, and actually the last week of the year, the 4th week of the 12th month. Then what happens is it shifts, okay? So this whole year is the year 2016 of Zakur, because he administers 3 times in the year, all right? Then the next year, 2017, would be Isri. And then he would be here and he would minister 3 times. The reason this is important, guys, is because it gives us the leap cycle. So this cycle goes around, because there's 24 of them, it goes around every 24 years. So what happens is every 24 years you accrue days, and in this calendar you would add a leap month every 24 years. And when you do that, now you have the leap cycle. So that's the house of David that gives us that, okay? So that's why when you have here, you have a priest course. There's also a priest course on this one, but it's a different priest name and a different priest course. So this is 1 Chronicles 24. This is the singers and musicians in 1 Chronicles 25, okay? So then what you have is you have some other information. Like I said, you got the signs, you got the decans, you got the weeks, and you also have here the cycle of 7. Remember we talked about this before, that here you have the Feast of Weeks, and this whole cycle here is a cycle of the 7th cycle of that year. So it's almost like a Sabbath from here, second weekend of Abib and Nisan, to Feast of Weeks. Then again, as you can see, the next corresponding week, I have it listed as Ephesus, because it's like the churches, okay? And that continues till here, all right? And that's the 5th month in the first week, which would then be Smyrna. And then you can see this pattern going throughout the year. Now this is also on here. Let me give you an example. So here is Ephesus. So you have Feast of Weeks, that's the 50th week. And then you have Ephesus, okay? So when we look at that here, here's Ephesus, okay, or the Feast of Weeks, and you can see here that is 50. The next week would be 1 in the cycle, and then this here is counting the weeks in the year. Okay, now there's 50 weeks in the year because we skip unleavened bread, and we skip tabernacles, and you can see that here. Okay, so that's what this cycle is, of 7 times 7 week cycle. And here we're just naming them corresponding to the 7 churches in Revelation 2 and 3. Okay, now also on here you will find the fasts. Okay, so the fasts are listed in the last column. Okay, and then you can see whatever the month is, you can see where the fast is. I do believe I put those on here. So in the 4th month and the 17th, you know, that's a fast. Okay, so I know it's a lot of information. If any of this is unclear, go back and watch it a second time. And those of you that, you know, want to fight and argue me about this calendar, I find arguing about these things completely useless. If you find the information beneficial, praise God. If not, I'm not going to argue with you, okay? You can make your own decisions. I'm just presenting this. I will be updating from time to time things that are updates and information that is pertaining to the Tabernacles offering and the 2016 year or calendar, okay? So that's what these other pages are. If you print it off, this is page 4, this is page 5. And so, you know, praise God for this information. Hope you find it a blessing. And thanks for watching. And, you know, we'll have some more soon. Okay, take care, guys.